discovery, and the shuttle has cleared the tower.
Hey guys, welcome to the Health or High Water podcast. It's gonna be an amazing episode. I got Carli here with me.
Hello.
Can't wait to talk, get more into that. But I also want to dive in and talk to you guys about thanking, honestly, all of you guys for these likes, subscribes, all these downloads that we've been getting. I mean, we're in about 65 different countries because of you guys have secured sponsorships. This has turned into just an incredible experience. We want to welcome some new countries to the fold. We got Argentina coming in, Lithuania also. I don't know if I said that right. We'll figure that out later. But yeah, make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, and sharing this because every little bit helps, and it shows because of how much we've grown as a podcast. But without further ado, thank you guys so much. Carli, how's it going?
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. I'm doing great.
Well, it's a little bit of a gloomy day today.
It really is. I was thinking it was going to be sunny when I woke up. I do this thing where I don't check the weather ever, and I'm just surprised every single morning what it looks like, and I was a little bit disappointed.
I almost cried this morning. I was like, it was really nice, like going to bed yesterday, or when the sun went down, and then as soon as woke up, it was like rainy and overcast. I was like, I thought I left the East Coast.
Colorado does that to you in the spring. It'll go from incredibly sunny to just thunderstorms all of a sudden, and you're like, what happened? Where'd the sun go?
Well, yeah, I guess if people listen to other countries, they'll probably have nicer weather than we do right now, so we're a little peanut butter and jealous. So Carli, I was fascinated with your work with the brain and fascinated with your work in health and wellness. Could you tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into this neurofeedbacking, and just a little background about you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started as a therapist. When I was going through school, I got my bachelor's in psychology, and then I realized quickly you really can't do much with a bachelor's degree in psychology. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to have to pursue a master's degree most likely to be able to get into the type of career that I want to. And so I went into counseling. I decided to do that, honestly.
Like social work kind of stuff?
Just more like traditional individual therapy.
Okay.
With clients. And so I'd gotten into it because my sister was a therapist. She works specifically with adults who have experienced alcoholism or adults who are children of alcoholics. And that's been something that she's been super passionate about. And she's like, well, you should check out counseling just as a path. And so I did. I ended up getting my master's in it. And as I was going through it, I just realized that it felt at times like I would be telling people, hey, you're going to be able to overcome this anxiety. And yet they just couldn't break the barriers a lot of times to be able to get there, or they couldn't break the barriers of how they experienced depression. And it became a little bit undermotivating for me as I was going through my master's degree and my internship. And I was like,
dogma of it, right? Kind of.
Yeah. I was like, I kind of don't want to do this. And I'd already invested all this time, all this money into this education. And so I was like, well, I've got to figure something out with it. And during that time, a friend had introduced me to one of her friends who was already in the neurofeedback field. She was a few years ahead of me, also got her license in counseling, but she moved into the neurofeedback realm, and she was looking to hire somebody. And so I ended up interviewing with her, learned about neurofeedback in the process because I had literally never heard about it before, and decided to pursue that. During that time, I went through my own program, and I dealt with anxiety myself for most of my young adulthood, and then I would say like a little bit childhood. I probably was not noticing that it was anxiety, but when I look back on it, I'm like, oh, that's probably what that was.
Right.
But I ended up going through the program, and it completely changed my life. I was no longer dealing with anxiety. I had the type of anxiety that's called panic disorder. So I always tell people it was an incredibly expensive anxiety disorder because, once a quarter, I'm going to the emergency room with my heart pounding out of my chest, thinking that I'm dying.
Right.
And it was awful. But with the neurofeedback, I went through the program 10 years ago, and I've literally never had that happen again.
That's great. Can you tell me what neurofeedback is and what that means?
Yeah, absolutely. So neurofeedback is the process of teaching the brain how to fire correctly. So when you think about the neurons in the brain, they're firing at different rates and
Kind of like an
lengths.
engine, right?
Yeah, kind of like I always compare it to a computer.
Okay.
Right? So you've got this processor that's going through, and it's either for some moving too slow, or for others it's moving too quickly. And really what you need from the brain is just flexibility. You need the brain to be able to go slow when it needs to go slow and go fast when it needs to go fast. And for a lot of people, they just get stuck on one end or the other.
Now, does that have to do with like fight or flight, those kind of things? Is that...
Yeah, it sure can. I would say on the anxiety side of things, it tends to be, or trauma, it tends to be more of the fight or flight mechanism that engages. But crazy enough, one of the more common things that we see is ADHD in kids and adults, and that's a brain that typically is moving too slow. So
really,
yes, and
'Cause
that's
I've got ADHD, like I'm kind of on the spectrum with some things, but like that's very interesting because you're told your whole life like you're moving too quick.
yes, it's the brain overcompensating. So, and I will say a lot of people who have ADHD are misdiagnosed when you're thinking about brain waves and how they work. Because when you have ADHD, you're prescribed a stimulant, right?
A lot of them in my body.
Yes.
A lot of them.
And if a stimulant is not working appropriately for somebody, it's likely that they may not have like ADHD. They might have anxiety, actually, that's looking a lot like ADHD type symptoms. But for some, I mean, even some who don't have true ADHD, as we look at it on a brain map, some people still respond to stimulants just fine, because we all know a lot of people like the stimulants when they're taking them, right? You're super focused, you're in the zone, it's
high.
great. Yeah, I mean, it's great. But if you don't want to be taking those long term, neurofeedback can really teach the brain how to balance itself out so that it can speed up to be able to do naturally what that stimulant is encouraging it to do.
Well, that's just it's interesting. There's a kind of conversation I love having on here, because there, like not just me, but there's so many people that are affected with these kind of misdiagnosis, poor medication or prescriptions for these kind of things. Again, just like Pill America. I mean, I was on 40 milligrams of Vyvanse in the morning, and then like 5 Adderall at night. And of course, you can't sleep because it's a branch chain of meth. Then they put you on, they put you on Ambien to put you to sleep. And then your whole brain's all messed up. When you come off it, you feel terrible. Yeah,
and really anything that's interrupting your sleep at night is just detrimental to your mental health and your wellness.
And so, is that something you guys deal with too? Is sleep? So like, or even better, probably better question is like, what does a consult look for you? Look for you?
Yeah. So if somebody's interested in doing neurofeedback, we invite them for a complimentary consultation so that we can teach about the entire process, right? We're going to go through what a brain map looks like, which is the initial assessment that we do to really understand the brain's inner workings. It helps us to look at the different brain waves and ensure that they're functioning properly. And then the places that maybe we're seeing some disruption, we're able to create individualized treatment plans for that person.
I love that.
So it's exciting because neurofeedback's not a one-size-fits-all model, right? This isn't just something where it's like, hey, you have anxiety, I'm throwing you this medication. This is, hey, you have anxiety, and this is where the root of it is in your brain. And this is how we're going to structure your treatment plan so that it is completely individualized to you, and we can see those improvements start to happen over time. On the next aspect of it is when you actually get into the neurofeedback, which is the training program that people go through. And so we'll walk them through what that process looks like, which really is just coming into the office. You place a headset or headphones on your head, and then you're watching a movie. And in that time, we place little electrodes on your head that are going to measure your brainwave activity in real time.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and it communicates with our software. So we're utilizing technology to really see how the brain is working in real time. And then we're going to teach the brain how to make changes by giving it rewards, which are just in the form of visual and auditory stimulus.
That is so cool. That is awesome. So you're like, again, like you're resetting the brain.
Essentially,
just like resetting the brain and oh, that is so cool. So you've been doing this for 10 years now?
I've been in the neurofeedback field for about 10 years, yeah.
For about 10 years. Has there obviously things have probably changed a lot, especially with even the equipment you
Oh my
use
gosh, yes.
from before. It probably seems like archaic now compared What are some cool things, like cool technology that you're excited about in this field? That's maybe a deeper brain map. I don't know. Maybe you got a machine that gives superpowers. I don't.
That would be great. I really look forward to when that comes out. Mind reading, maybe.
That's what I'm thinking. Maybe some telekinesis that we can get going on. I still to this day, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I pretend I'm using the Force to open up elevator doors.
That is great.
I can't help it. So,
I can't help it.
So when that happens, let us.
I sure will. Yeah, I mean, technology-wise, it is advancing rapidly in the neurofeedback field. When I was doing my training program, there was literally just like little games you could play. It was like a monkey jumping around.
Yeah.
And the monkey, whenever it jumped up and started going forward, that was a good thing. And then if it fell off, that was a bad thing. And so that's how it was teaching your brain the reinforcements. Okay. Really fun and engaging, Now you get to watch movies. So you can come in, you watch literally any streaming service that you want. We have Netflix, we have Disney, we have, Prime, YouTube, all the things to entertain people, and people tend to like that a lot more.
It's probably more natural for them.
Yeah, I mean, you just get to hang out. That's
right.
The nice thing. You just get to come in, relax, and your brain does the rest of the work for you. So, I mean, that's a small technology advancement, I would say, in the neurofeedback world, but there's some good stuff in the pipeline that we see coming out. The question is just, when will it actually work at the efficacy levels that we need it to?
Right, because it probably has to go through like rigorous testing and those kind of things, make sure it's safe and.
Yeah, the equipment, I mean, it should go through rigorous testing. I don't think it always does, which is why as, therapists, neurofeedback therapists, you have to be very aware of the companies that are bringing out technology, and are they reputable, and where are they doing their research to back up the claims that they're making for what the technology can do.
That's very true, right? The last thing you want to do is like create this amazing new technology to help people, and then get sued out of existence.
That would be horrible.
It would be absolutely terrible. So you've got this business going on about 10 years. You got some cool technology that's coming out. But one of the cool things, and other people listening to this that are maybe psychologists, therapists, or just brain junkies, the game seems very simply Pavlovian.
Oh, it is.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, just super simple.
It's behaviorism at its finest. That's what I always tell people. It's just get rewarded and then watch brain change. Just do it a lot of times, right? It just requires repetition. That's how you create habits, is by doing something over and over and over again well and correctly. And when you teach the brain how to do that, you carve new neural pathways, and it doesn't tend to forget them. That's the really cool thing about it, because the brain, once it's learned something, it's like learning how to ride a bike. It's not like it just goes away one day. This becomes a very permanent change for the brain.
This again, I might be going on totally different tangents
you're
with things,
fine.
and I'm so sorry. My brain is going nuts right now. I just thought about this. This must be groundbreaking for veterans and PTSD.
It is wonderful for veterans and PTSD. My hope is that, like the VA starts to adopt this a bit more. It's definitely not something that's widespread throughout the VA or even very accessible, but it's my heart to be able to change that one day. I love working with service members just in general.
I mean, that's so important. And it's just like you see these numbers about suicide ratings, and it's, they call it shell shock back in the day, and now PTSD, and they're always like constantly changing this idea of just this constant panicked straight out. So as soon as I had panic about that, it just made a whole bunch of sense. This needs to be done in the VA, and this should be like a normal thing they do after they come back from tours.
Oh, absolutely. Or before, right?
Well,
I think we're always so focused on what happens to us after and how we fix it. But man, if we were utilizing this stuff a lot sooner as prevention, our brains would be so much stronger and so much more resilient when they actually have to go and experience the traumas that some of these service members experience.
Oh, I love the preventive measure, because that's kind of what we're in. With our genetics. And speaking of, quick word from our sponsors. This is perfect time and a perfect segue.
There you go.
Hey guys, if you guys are ever curious about what kind of wellness program you guys need to be on, what kind of maybe metabolic issues, cardiovascular issues you have, you guys should check out a company called Gene Planet Genetic Testing. These are the genetic tests that we use to build our individualized program. They go all the way from teaching you the right workouts to do to teaching the right diet, even the right supplementation. And we all know we've got a friend that's told another friend to take a supplement. We don't know if it's working or not. So if you guys are interested in fine-tuning your wellness program, building preventive measures to make sure you guys are healthy, then check out geneplanet.com and use code APT, that's code APT, for 30% off of all the genetic tests on there. I've got genetic tested myself. It's absolutely amazing, and they do something called whole genome sequencing. So as we learn about genetics, you get updated for free. So that's code APT at checkout. Gene Planet, check it out. So that's actually kind of the same thing like how we build preventive measures through genetics.
I love that.
So I think there's got to be some kind of overlap with that too, because with our genetic tests we actually find out like fear and anxiety predispositions.
Oh wow.
Those kind of things. So I'd be really interested to see maybe like a clean brain or whatever, someone who, and then like see their genetic test and see if there's some correlations between what their predisposition is and what's going on actively.
That would be incredibly interesting. We should figure that out.
Wow, my brain going nuts right now. It's so cool. So preventive measure wise too. The military, this is groundbreaking for that. It's also got to be groundbreaking, like you're talking about kids and trauma.
Yeah, absolutely.
So is that a big clientele that you guys work with as kids?
Yeah, we work with a lot of kids, kids in trauma and kids that are, ADHD or parents that are pursuing an ADHD diagnosis or are wondering what is going on with maybe some of the younger kids. We're finding that parents are becoming a bit more, I would say, medication hesitant. They're just asking more questions, right? We're getting younger and younger kids with these symptoms. And so there's that question of, gosh, like, should I put them on medication yet? And we get a lot of those types of kids and just families in general, which I think is wonderful. Like, let's start asking questions. Not that medication is bad. There's a time and place for it. But with the younger kids, like, let's ask questions first and see if we can really build that resiliency in the brain before we take those next steps into something that is sometimes lifelong management for kids. And that can be really challenging.
Yeah, 100%. And again, like going back to that misdiagnosis thing, I was probably misdiagnosed as a kid. I mean, there's just so many of us that have gone through something like that. You probably destroy that misdiagnosis rating because you guys are getting actual quantifiable data.
Yeah, we're definitely able to see what's actually going on and the root of the symptoms for people. And so while they are likely checking off all of the boxes for the diagnosis, right? To be able to get that from a symptomatic standpoint, that doesn't necessarily mean you're checking off all the boxes from a brain function standpoint. There could be different underlying reasons that you're experiencing those symptoms. And so when you actually are able to look inside the brain and get a picture of it, well, now we're able to really walk through in that individualized manner of what's happening for you specifically. And we try to stay out of the world of diagnoses altogether because ultimately I don't really want you to label yourself with something. I want you to be able to just say, this is something I deal with and my brain is fully capable of changing and overcoming anything that is when it's given the right resources and tools to be able to do so.
No, I like that. And I guess it'll be the first episode that I'm going to let everybody know that I'm on the spectrum from autism, and it was completely misdiagnosed. And I'm glad I didn't have that label.
Right.
Because I just thought I was normal and or like a little different, Yeah. A little different, but like it didn't stop me from doing anything. And I do work with a lot of kids that are working out, and it seems like having that label makes, I'm just autistic. So like, whatever.
I prefer for people to not have diagnoses to blame things on, right? To make it something that hinders them from moving forward. It's okay to know what's going on, and I think self-awareness is hugely important. It just shouldn't be something that holds you back from accomplishing your goals, visions, dreams.
Yeah, because you're focusing on the solution rather than what's going, rather than just what's going on.
Exactly.
Right? Hey guys, this is what we need to focus on here. Like, don't worry about what you have going on. We can work on it.
Yeah, let's look at this. Let's understand it.
I love that.
And then let's move forward. Let's find ways for your brain to make the changes that it needs to make to be neurologically flexible, powerful, and able to overcome any obstacle that comes in your way.
That's absolutely incredible, because what a huge thing I like about this is, and I'm thinking just like diagnostically for even hospitals, is incredibly big. We had someone come on a few weeks ago, Dr. Elizabeth Goldberg, shout out. She came out with something called Gap Care.
Okay.
Which she works with geriatrics, seniors, and there's really not a lot of any hospitals that are doing mental tests for like dementia and Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
They just someone falls and breaks their hip, you get them set up. Hey, here's BT, and they marry on their way.
Mm-hmm.
When a lot of these people are falling because of these issues.
Oh, I never even thought about that.
Right? There's going to be an underlying issue, and they're just being pushed off, like, oh, maybe they got a UTI,
yeah.
Right? Which a lot of these seniors do have UTIs. But now they're bringing in something called a gap care, where before they're let out, they're asked some questions. Hey, can you draw a clock for me?
Mm-hmm.
Those kind of things. I think that, honestly, your brain mapping might be crucial in that like early detection phase.
Oh, absolutely.
What's going on?
One of the neatest data points that we have on the brain map is where we're able to look at somebody's processing speed. And so there's norms for a processing speed given the age that you are. And if we're starting to see, especially in aging individuals, that processing is slowing down, that's normal, but we want to make sure that it's not slowing down quicker than normal or already slowed down to a place that would actually be considered an unhealthy level. And that's something that we can catch in just those brain map assessments and start to just have conversations, right? Especially if some of the symptoms that they're coming in for are aligning with maybe some questions about cognitive decline, then we also have that data point to be able to look at and start to have conversations with maybe the different providers that they're working with. And we can also teach the brain to strengthen itself. I'm not saying that we can prevent Alzheimer's or dementia necessarily with neurofeedback, but we can absolutely teach the brain how to strengthen itself when we are seeing some of that decline start to happen early on.
That's cool, because that's kind of the same thing I do in my consults with, hey, listen, there's nothing I can do if you get hit by a bus.
Right.
Right. There's nothing, but hey, listen, like we can at least do our best to prevent certain things, like rolling your ankle,
yes,
getting you better posture to avoid certain risk of injury, those kind of things. But you're doing that mentally.
Yeah, it's all about strength and resiliency, right? We need it in our bodies and we need it in our brains. I think a lot of people just don't know about the different resources that exist for training and strengthening the brain. It should feel like a mental workout.
Well, you train your body, you do all these other things. You should be training your brain too.
Absolutely. You really should. And if you're not, you're missing something, because your brain is what sustains all of it.
Well, this is so serendipitous. Like, I just had a conversation about this this morning at the checkout. I got shout out Shirley, checkout Safeway. But we were talking about she's really excited to retire.
Okay.
And I was like, well, watch out about that, because work with a lot of retirees, and once they stop working and they stop like hanging out, their mental decline is rapid.
Oh wow! I can see that.
Right, because your brain is like you said, you got to keep on working on it. It's a skill. Mm-hmm. Communication's a skill that you got to keep on working on. If you just isolate for months, it's gonna be hard to talk to people because you haven't done it in a while.
Absolutely.
So like, making sure that we're working on our brain is super duper important, because it goes away. It's like a muscle.
It is.
It atrophies.
Yes, it will atrophy, and strengthening it keeps it strong, right? So it's just like truly just like any other muscle in your body. When you're working on it, it stays strong, it stays resilient, and it's less prone to injury. And injury in our brain world, right, is trauma. Right. Yeah. Physical and emotional traumas. True. You can be more resilient when you are working out your brain.
100%. This is. I love this. I'm so glad you came on.
I'm so glad to be here.
I'm so glad you came on. This is absolutely amazing. So, talking about even preventing trauma, brain injury, those kind of things. What about sports? Do you work with any athletes?
Oh yes, I love working with athletes. So we actually just went out to, I was a big volleyball player. So I played competitive volleyball all the way through high school. And then I played for a few years in college before I decided that I didn't really want to do that anymore. But we went out to Big South, which is a huge volleyball tournament in Atlanta. And we were able to talk with a ton of athletes about just the importance of strengthening the mental performance aspect of the game, right? When you're a high performing athlete, your errors are not because you haven't been practicing or you don't have the reps. Your errors are mental. They're going to be that you don't know how to calm down or emotionally regulate in a high pressure situation. And so neurofeedback is such a wonderful tool for teaching the brain how to regulate itself in those high stress moments, especially if you're the one that the game is relying on in that moment, right?
It's a lot of stress.
It is a lot of stress. It feels like the world is on your shoulders in that moment. Your heart starts racing. You're sitting there. If you don't have the best self-talk game, you're going to quickly start to go into a place that isn't going to give you your best performance in that moment. Because if you're in a state of fight or flight, you cannot perform at your best. And so neurofeedback can be a wonderful tool for teaching the brain how to come in and out of that state. It's not a bad thing to be in a state of fight or flight. If you're in a dangerous situation, I want your brain to go into fight or flight.
Yeah.
However, you need to be able to discern what's dangerous, what's life-threatening, and what's I just need to perform right now. I need to be able to get in the zone. I need to be able to perform in this moment for my team or the individual sport that I'm playing so that I can reach my goals that I have in this moment. So yes, I love working with athletes. And I've worked with athletes actually at all levels. I've worked with high schoolers. I've worked with college and professional athletes just in the course of the last 10 years.
I'm even thinking like concussions and stuff like football. Like, hey, listen, like we're gonna start with a brain scan at the beginning of the season, and on your way out at the end of the season as part of like, and I'm sure they might do something close to this because of all the concussion issues going on. But you're talking at like a much deeper level than just a normal brain scan. You're talking about the different lobes doing different things. I mean, this is absolutely incredible what you're doing, and I'd love to sit down with you sometime, down the road and see, maybe there's some synergy with the, figuring out if you're predisposed to anxiety and having a brain. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff.
I'd love to talk about that more. I really like the genetic side of things. I don't know a ton about it, but I guarantee there's some crossover in what you're seeing on the testing and what we see on our testing as well.
Well, it's just, and again, going back to like, let's just say student athletes like D1, like being able to have a genetic test with some, like especially one of these kids that has a high level or high predisposition for fear and anxiety, depression, and being able to come up with a game plan or get them set up with a school therapist and stuff ahead of time, because guess what? That pressure is not going to go away. It's going to get worse.
It does. It just builds as you go. And if you're not strengthening your brain or you're not training it, it starts to get the best of you. I think we talked about this when we had met earlier, but what you focus on just becomes what your brain notices, right? If I'm constantly thinking that I'm going to fail or I'm not going to be able to show up or I shouldn't be the one that people count on in these moments, I may not be saying that out loud, but if that's my self-talk, my internal talk, my brain's just going to start looking for all those moments that I just continuously fail. And it just highlights them. It's like a highlight reel in your brain of all the negatives. We want to make sure that the brain has that mechanism of being able to go into a space where my highlight reel is truly all of the positives, all of the things that I'm capable of. And you have to get the brain out of a state of fight or flight to be able to do that. You're
right. And you're based out of here in Denver.
Yes.
Do you do virtual work? So maybe tell people about where you're located, how they can find you, those kind of things.
Yeah, absolutely. So Brightwave is here in South Denver in a physical location. We're right off of Lincoln and I-25. And then we also have an office down in North Colorado Springs. It's essentially Monument. We have a remote program as well. That's my favorite because we can help anybody anywhere. Just typically we focus on nationwide, but technically we can help anybody anywhere in the world. We have had a few clients, I think one in Sweden and one in Japan. So that was kind of cool.
Nice.
Yeah, time changes can be a little challenging in those scenarios, but we can work with anybody anywhere, which is a fantastic aspect of that. And then we have a sweet contract actually out at Nellis Air Force Base. We work out with the weapons school, helping all of the pilots and operators in general that are going through that program to manage their recovery and stress levels. And that's something that we have on site. Obviously, nobody can come there to train there, but it's something fun that we get to do with those operators that are going through an incredibly rigorous program to be able to be the best of the best in the Air Force.
That's awesome. So, hey guys, we will put all of the information here in the copy, so you guys can just click on it and go straight from this podcast to your information. I want to thank you so much for coming on here. It was an absolute blast.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been great.
Well, of course, I love getting to nerd out on the science and the numbers of everything, because I think that's where everything's going. It's more preventive health than anything, and you are taking huge strides into helping people a uniquely and individualistic way, and I absolutely love what you're doing.
Well, thank you.
Of
I
course.
appreciate it.
No worries. You got to give credit where credit's due. Guys, make sure you guys are liking, sharing, subscribing. Tell your best friends, squirrels, brothers, everybody. Every little bit helps. I want to thank all these new countries for all these new downloads, and thank the ones that have been there since day one as well. You guys can find us anywhere from Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Wherever podcasting is shown, we are there. And again, thank you so much for coming in, and we will see you guys on the next episode of Health or High Water. Bye.